The engine is starting up. 3, 2, 1.
Is there anyone here that would like to communicate with us?
Putting a dip in your hip, a glide in your stride. Welcome to the mothership, the home of the travelers of the universe, with shows throughout the week. Everything you want, everything you could need. From the paranormal to the supernatural, from the spiritual to the unknown, from emotions to comedy. You can find us at Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and so much more. This is R.I.F.T Nation Network, the RNN. And now, your featured show. Shall we begin?
Sensitive/offensive content disclaimer. Please note that this podcast may contain material that some listeners may find sensitive, offensive, or disturbing. We strive to create respectful and informative content, but topics discussed may include mature themes such as violence, explicit language, or controversial subjects, triggering content including discussions related to mental health, trauma, or other sensitive issues, explicit language. Occasionally, our guests or hosts may use strong language. While we aim to handle these topics with care and empathy, we encourage listeners to exercise discretion. If you find any content distressing, consider skipping or seeking support. Remember that this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. If you need assistance, please consult a qualified expert.
Doctor, would you like to introduce?
Of course. Welcome, everyone, to another electrifying episode of the Orion Effect. Tonight, we've got an open discussion coming your way as we dive into what's happening in the world around us. Joining me are my fantastic co-hosts, Rhonda Harris and Ryan C. Jones. Get ready for LiveWire. Let's spark up some conversation.
Wow.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Orion Effect Live Wire right here, live on the R.I.F.T Nation Network. Of course, I am joined by the hostess of the show herself,
Rhonda Harris.
and we have someone special down below.
Ryan Jones.
We are here tonight, and hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is a unique night. We've got some things changing, if you will. And I'm not sure if Rhonda was expecting actually Ryan to be here. So
I'm in, I've got a paranormal hangover, so I'm not even sure what's going on in the world today.
Well,
I figured after your investigation last night, you may be a little tired.
No,
So I
I'm
was like, maybe
okay.
I can come in,
Energetically, I'm drained, but I'm feeling pretty good.
that's
But
good.
energetically, I'm feeling it.
Yeah. You feeling it next week too?
And the next week,
Well, I'll be feeling it. That's for damn sure.
next 2 weeks, we got investigations, so we're pumped.
Yeah, you got a lot going on here this month, don't you?
Yep.
Yeah, we had a interesting time yesterday during the day. Rhonda spent the evening there at Hanover Tavern. I joined Ryan last night for a little entertainment, if you will.
Wrestling,
That's right.
if you will.
We got our wrestling on last night.
Y'all did wrestling.
We did our wrestling. had my daughter with us, and we had a good time and very enjoyable and saying hello and make sure everybody's seen everybody. Rhonda, I'm gonna open that door and I'm gonna hand it back over to you.
Yes. Hello, Ashley Herndon and Bigfoot Dwarf. That's an oxymoron, isn't it? Bigfoot Dwarf.
I like it. And welcome
like
to
it
the
too.
movie.
It's intriguing. It's got
Yeah.
me intrigued. Renee Cody. Hello, Lois Clark. Michelle. Shane and Tammy Johnnings. Michelle Plummer. Good to see you.
What?
Renee Cody. Joanne Sidner. Robert Odell. Investigation. Yes, we investigated at Hanover Tavern last night for 5 hours.
So let's talk a little bit about yesterday.
Okay.
I'm going to talk as much as I can before I cough. I think yesterday was really, really good. I went with Ryan last year. This year, of course, I caught up with you, and I actually didn't do a whole lot yesterday except for sit on my butt and talk to Andy Andrews all day long. 4 hours to sit in the courtyard, and it felt like it was 15 minutes. Let me say that. But it was very enjoyable. All the vendors, the podcasters that were there. I really did enjoy the atmosphere yesterday.
Yeah.
I have to admit, it was a little bit different than it was last year. RTL had the back room to themselves except for one vendor. But all in all, it was very much the atmosphere seems to be the same every year, which is kind of good. What do you think about that, Rhonda?
Yeah, I mean, and of course, every year it's going to change because the vendors come and go, and people have different things, going on, and so of course it's going to change a little bit. But for the most part, the camaraderie is the same. Yes, Ronnie. Nope. You're right, Ronnie. I was in bed by 10. I was stealing cookies at 2:30 and could barely keep my eyes open going home. It was good to see you and Shayla out there. That's for sure.
Thank you, Keith, brother Keith. Thank you so
Keith.
much. And of course, Ashley was out there for 2 days. She was out there for both.
She went out Friday as well.
Yep. Ashley is a part of ASPS. So
Nice.
representing what? So there's a lot going on with events. And we're going to talk about the investigation because I want your time to, discuss what you encountered. And we can compare notes because both Ryan and I have both participated in public events out there with Help and Transcend.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, did y'all hear the accent right there?
With Transcend.
What in the hell?
You're not even from Hanover.
That's all right. That's all right. But I know when we helped, we were there. Ryan and I were there for the very first time when they did the lockdown. Thank you, Susan. And with that, what I mean by lockdown is they actually locked the main building when we went across the street to the courthouse and to the jail. And that's the first time we really got some serious, cool audio.
Mm-hmm.
There was no one in the tavern itself. And, it was very interesting on what we caught that time. So, Ryan, so before we hand it back over to Rhonda, what are some of the things you remember about those couple of investigations we helped? So maybe we can conglomerate. And this is LiveWire. We're going to talk about any and everything tonight. So trust me, there is no filter. So
I mean, Yes, yeah, get it out there. As far as the investigations are concerned, I was very impressed with like how much activity there was on the property, not just in one particular building. We would get stuff in the jail. We'd hear conversations in the old courthouse.
Yeah.
It was always a fun time when we'd go out there and investigate. Like going out to the old nutshell house that was behind the courthouse a couple of times, going into the library a few times. It's definitely worth it if you see an advertisement for an investigation to go check it out, because it's a fun experience. Even if it's a slow night, you'll still have a good time, and that's really all that matters.
I agree with you. Again, I'm going to add to it. I think some interesting experiences with the jailhouse that we had. I wasn't even going to bring up the nutshell house just because, but it needs to have its attention. That place was interesting. That was an interesting location. I think, seeing the activity I saw in an auditorium when we were there and just doing the sit down, and we all just did a little, EVPs and just sat there to see what we could get. And we saw the shadow play and all that. That was interesting. I loved the opportunity for all of us to work together and share our evidence, which is what we used to do before the investigation. All the teams that had investigated there would share their evidence of prior, which was always fun. And I think the atmosphere out there, with it being close but not so close, is really a good thing. I'm going to agree with Ryan too. No matter where you are, if it's a public event, take the opportunity to go check it out, especially if you're new to the field or if you want to catch up and maybe somebody's doing something different than you usually do. I agree with that. Totally agree with that. And one thing I would say about these things is definitely keep your attitude at the door. And that's one thing I can say about yesterday was everybody was very in line. Nobody was disrespectful. Everybody was calm, cool. And you know what? Hey, I told y'all the gates are open right now. And I told y'all this is open shit. It's open. And that's including me. Okay. Yesterday I did something I didn't think I would ever do and created a new friendship out of it, if you will. Sometimes as we get older, we need to mature with that. And with that, we become like a fine wine, or in some cases, that piece of corn you eat into that tastes like alcohol. Just saying. That as we do this, there's conglomerate, there's a respect in the field. And I saw that yesterday all across the board. I'm not going to go up to somebody just to speak to them because either they're have a show or they're a vendor or they're a team. I'm still in that old school mentality of somebody to introduce me if that's going to be the case. I had one gentleman come up to me because of this thing, of course. I know you. I'm like, oh boy. And we talked, and he was a very nice man, very, very interesting. He's like, I know you from your show and from the things you do. And I know you from the hat. I'm like, I think the hat, again, is more popular than I am, and I'm okay with that now. But I saw that yesterday. There was a sense of conglomerate. Well, that's not the word I'm going for, but I'm going to use it. Howie Knees coming at you. Conglomerate communication that was taking place that I think everybody across the board is very respectful. Nobody was disrespectful that I saw. Everybody really put in the effort to make this a great event.
Yeah.
That much I will say. So with saying that, 10 years ago, Ryan and I were attempting to start something here in Virginia to help everybody. All the teams, not just Richmond, all the teams in Virginia. And we were working with Angel May and with a few other teams, 7 cities, etc. Actually, with 7 cities is why we were creating the Paranormal Coalition, because of something that happened here in Richmond. They didn't have a camera wire and some equipment. I reached out to them. I said, "You guys, I'm here. What kind of camera you would? What wire do you need? What batteries? I'm 15 minutes away. I'll bring it to you. You can just give it to me in the morning." All right, that started the whole idea. Well, there was some stuff that went down that year. Okay, and there's a few people who took the idea wrong. I'm going to say that now. They didn't think I had the best intent, or we didn't have the best intent, which now in retrospect, people I'm sure can see it and go, hey, maybe that's an idea we can try again. Who knows? However, it was just to help each other, all the teams around, if they needed support, if they needed team members, if they needed equipment, support. Well, yesterday I sat down and I spoke to somebody who was actually not so on board with that. And he and I talked, and some good things came out of that. So, it just shows that sometimes you can just put your feelings and all that aside to make it best for everybody. And sometimes maybe we have to grow to become more. How do you feel about that, you guys?
I mean, I can argue with that. I think it's a great idea. I think the idea we had back in the day was a good idea of us like a support group for different teams around the area. And like you said, if we just talk stuff out and try to meet in the middle, it'll be the world would be a lot better place. The paranormal world would be a lot better place, at least around here, for sure.
Well, that's was saying not everybody can get along. Look, that's science. It's psychological. Not everybody can get along, but it doesn't mean you have to act like an idiot, imbecile, or a goblin in public. So
yeah, we can meet each other. It takes effort. You have to like love the person or even like the person, but meet each other halfway and be like, okay, we can work together, and be civil.
Yeah.
To each other. We were watching wrestling last night, and I know there's a bunch of like different stories where, wrestlers didn't really like each other, but they still worked together and put together a good match. So,
exactly.
Kind of the same deal.
I know. Here we go again, crossing wrestling with paranormal. Oh, Lord forbid. But you know what? Storyline's there.
If it's there, it's there,
I like that. Ashley said, I think it's great to have a support group. Absolutely. You can have a support group outside of your own group, just in case there's conflict. You have somebody to go to that's not going to, interfere with the workings of your group, because sometimes you just need that release. Not everybody has a podcast. Not everybody has that support system. So, yeah, I agree. Keith, thank you, Keith, brother, man. Appreciate that. You can support the RNN by sending stars. Thank you. Not that I push that, but rock on. Let's do it. We're moving, we're motivating. So, I'm going to hand it back over to Rhonda, because I really want to hear how the investigation went last night and your opinions and your thoughts, Rhonda. I mean, everybody knows.
I do want to kind of touch on what you just said about like being at these events and not going to talk to somebody just because they're on TV or they're, known or whatever. And I'm going to disagree with that.
Oh, I agree.
I'm going to disagree with that, because I think if you're, interested in the paranormal and you're part of the paranormal, I think you should be out there networking. And I think it's wrong to assume that just because someone is on TV or that, they're on podcasts or that they're on, that they're an investigator. I think it's wrong to assume they're an extrovert and that they will come speak to you if you want them to. So I think it's important, like if they're on TV and you want to say hi, go say hi, strike up the conversation, because it might not be in their wheelhouse to do that.
No, I agree with you.
I'm not an extrovert.
Yeah, me neither. Except for people I know.
Yeah.
I knew that was going to be taken wrong. So that's why I wanted to bring it out, because there was a few people that had said that, they were like, well, what's going on with him? But why didn't he come by and say hi? I don't go by to say hi to everybody because I don't know you. I feel like I'm disrespecting someone if I walk up and just start a conversation. I'm not a person who goes, "Oh, look, I'm a big fan." I am a fan of everybody. I'm a fan of
Right.
the community and the society. But I'm also that person, that gentleman part of me goes, allow me to be introduced. That way it's respectful in a conversation for me to engage. I did say hi to people. Don't get me wrong.
No, but I mean, I'm just saying, just because somebody's at a booth and I don't know who they are, I've never
Mhm.
met them. I usually make my rounds around and go kind of stop at every booth. If I don't know the person or know like what their products are about or what they do, I ask questions. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
oh yeah, so how do you do this? It's not striking up a conversation, but you'd be surprised when you do that, the connections you can make because you have level, you have interest that you didn't know you would have maybe had with that person overall. There were some people out there with some interesting booths. I love the one guy that had a booth that said something like "The skeptic is in," and I was like, "That's so cool! Like that's kind of a new twist on things." It was really interesting. So, I mean, I get not trying to force a conversation, but I think at events like this, it's important because that's how the community grows.
I think that's a great word you just used. Forcing the conversation. I do not want to be put in that position where I'm forcing something. That's valid. And there was a lot of unique booths and vendors and people I spoke to yesterday. I totally agree with you with that. Totally
So
agree with you.
I just don't want people to think, that people can be are unapproachable or anything like that. I think it's just don't ever go to these kind of events and think, well, if they wanted to talk to me, they would come up to me and talk to me because that's not necessarily how
That's not
everybody
going to be the
operates.
truth. Yeah, I agree with you there too. I
Um,
agree with you.
investigation went really well. We had a large group. There's a lot of people there that stayed for the investigation. A lot of people, like in our group, most of the people were from out of town. We had some people from Maryland. We had a group from Loudoun County, and we had a group from West Virginia. So people had traveled a good ways to do this investigation. We had 5 locations that we investigated. Every spot had a little bit of activity. I don't think we didn't go in a single spot that there wasn't activity. The courthouse was off the chain. I'm not gonna lie. We got the majority of like the nonstop interaction in the courthouse. We started at the clerk of courts, and in that particular building, it's a small building, but it's the way it's set up because they're making it a museum kind of location right now where they're going to have artifacts and things like that in there. There are 3 rooms that are pretty wide open. So we had a group of, I don't know if we had 10 or 12. I don't even know how many people we had, but so there was enough for people to kind of spread out. And when that particular one, you didn't have a lot of hits in one room all the time, but it would hit a room, go to the next room, go to the next room. And that's what we noticed. It was back like bouncing. So, that was the first room of the night. Then we went to the courthouse, and that was the most activity we got from the point, we did what, people had recommended, having somebody sit in the judge's seat, having things like that. And we did that. We had some people sit in the judge's seat and do the SD session. We had equipment posted all around the building. We had flashlights up, and we were getting a lot of SD sessions, direct responses to the questions I was asking that made sense, along with like flashlight and other equipment going off at the same time with confirmation.
I'm glad you brought that up because we're going to go back to this. Ryan, would you like to read that?
Wow. Had Shayla doing Estes session in the courthouse. That session turned out to be actual trial. So
there you go. And that was, and the reason I held on to that is because I was waiting to see if Rhonda was going to speak on that.
Yeah, we ended up having a few people come through on the SDs. One indicated he was a lawyer that had worked there and was defending people. And we had someone come through that said they were a judge at one point. But every question we asked, we got a lot of multiple things that were giving us the same response. So it would be a direct response on SDs along with a flashlight going off, along with something else happening. At one point, it was really cute. We were getting close to our time being up, and we said, like, just light up if you will just light up everything in this room, we'll leave.
Right.
And lo and behold, everything that we had that could light up lit up, but one flashlight. And so we're like, all right, that'll do. Good enough. We'll head out. We'll get ready to head out. One lady goes, come on, can you please just turn on that last flashlight? And the guy that was under SD session said, ma'am, just like a judge would, it was like done with like, ma'am, like I did your tricks. Good.
Yeah.
So then we headed over to the jail and we had some flashlight activity there in the windows, actually, getting some responses through dual SD sessions indicating that it was potentially the man that lived behind the building. Philip, was his name Philip? Is that right?
That was the nut house, right? Ryan, nutshell house.
I don't remember, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, we got that and it was based off what we were seeing, and what Steve had given us. So we were giving that and we had dual SD sessions to go in then, and they were still both answering, like if we asked a question, they were both answering at the same time. Maybe not the same response, but they were answering at the same time. Then we moved over to the library, which we had some really good dual dowsing rod sessions, along with some human pendulum going on over there. And then we ended the night over at the tavern in the theater. That's where we opted to go. And it was really quiet in there. It was really, really quiet in there, except towards the end. Mike was sitting on the stage. Shonda and I were in the back. All the rest of the group was kind of in the back. And all of a sudden I looked at Shonda and I said, did you just hear somebody walk across the stage?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, yes. And I was like, Mike, did you just walk across the stage? Which I knew he had on tennis shoes. So it sounded like somebody with heavier shoes, more like wooden shoes or something. And he was like, no.
Thank you, Shonda.
So, yeah, then at the end, he was like, yeah, I heard those same footsteps. So it wasn't, people talk about hearing footsteps overhead. It wasn't that. It was somebody walking across the stage. And that was the last thing of the night.
Wow. So it does sound like y'all had some really good stuff and activity going on.
Yep. I think everybody had a little bit of activity everywhere.
It's always good.
Mm-hmm.
I know this is a funny moment. I'm sorry. I thought I was going to sneeze. I had to break. Okay, we're good. So
false alarm.
Yeah, false alarm. It was like, no, stop. So I wanted to talk about this. I wanted to bring out the part of investigating the things that happen, especially with it being, so raw right now. I know the stuff that Ryan and I encountered, we still can recall majority of what experienced. So with that, here comes the other side of this. I know a lot of people were like, wait, is this LiveWire? Are you really going to, I thought you were going to start talking smack. No, it's not about talking smack. It's about being open, and what we're doing. This is a live conversation, and we're going to look and talk about different things. And if you thought that I was going to be coming on here talking smack, wrong. So with that being said, do you feel that maybe because of the energy that was produced during the day, maybe that's why you had such good results last night?
I think it could be because there was such a good energy there. But I mean, for us, and of course, Ronnie and Shayla were there too. They had a group that they had, and it sounded like they had good activity in the courthouse as well.
Yeah.
But I also think our group was very, very interactive. They were varying degrees of whether they had been on an investigation or not, or if they had investigated. But every one of them had some sort of experience. They'd either attended public investigations or they had investigated themselves. They didn't know, a lot of them, some of them had some of their own equipment and stuff. We also had some younger people in our group. We had like 18-year-olds and things like that. So I think it was a good mix. For us, I feel like it's because everybody's vibration themselves was so up. But I would say the energy of the day probably brought that up, because it seemed like all of the groups were, it's just in passing them, everybody was laughing, everybody was joking, all the groups as we were moving different spots. So I think, it was just a good group of people there too. So yeah. I think it's a combination of all of it.
I'll go with that. Yesterday I got to meet one of the interesting people that have recently been on our show, Jen Rose, and spent a good time with Jen. It was a wonderful day with her and talking to her about different things. And I just wanted to bring that out. This is where I was going to go with this. A lot of investigations. There's a lot of things we experience and see. And I'm going to bring this to both y'all. And when Ryan said, "Hey, I'll jump on. You want me to?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, come on, let's do this." It gave a great a 3-point insight to everything. I want to say the majority, if not all, of the people who were speaking on stage yesterday did an excellent job. I think there was a lot of interesting stuff, and they said a couple of things that made me go, "That's interesting. I would like to talk about that." You know, which is why I designed up the idea of LiveWire. When we're in the field, okay, knowing that we only see a percentage of the amount of colors, the percentage of only the amount of audible noise, okay, the visual that we only see a percentage of. How do you guys feel about that? Are we existing now? And this is now, I'm going to make sure I word this right, okay? Because someone, a new friend of mine, had made a valid point when I gave the explanation, and I want to see where y'all come from before I say anything. So we only have a percentage of color, a percentage of audio, and a percentage of energy that we are aware of on this plane. Outside of that plane, outside of those senses, there's still 40%, 20%, 60% that we are not experiencing as a whole. How do you guys feel about that? Is it that it's a what how do I deliver this to you guys? Is it dimensional? Is it sensory perception? Is it because we can't see it? Is it changing because it's still on our plane? How do you feel about that? You know, can we tap further into that? Should we tap further into that?
I mean, can mediums tap further into it because they can actually see the spirits around you or sense the energies? I've heard that everyone has gifts, just some people aren't in tune with them as strong as others are, but it's possible to get to that point. I'm not saying we could start seeing infrared, obviously,
Right.
but if we keep practicing and keep fine tuning the skills that we have, once you've figure out what the skills are, and we could work on them, we could probably enhance our abilities. But I mean, I don't know about seeing different colors and stuff like that. I don't know how far we can enhance the abilities that we have, but I think there's always work to be done to make ourselves better at what we're doing.
I think where do I want to go with this? There's so many ways I want to go with this. Well, I think the first thing, Ryan, I agree with you. I mean, that's what I teach is that everybody's got it. You just got to quiet your mind enough to tap into it. I question, we all have, like you said, like the percentages of what we see on a day to day, what we see, what we hear, what we sense, what we experience is only a percentage of like 100%, right? But sometimes I wonder if that's because all we are kind of have equal abilities of all of it. I mean, like we see, we hear, we sense, we feel all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So is that why it has to be that way? We've proven with sensory deprivation, like if you remove one, another becomes slightly stronger. So we've proven that. And we know that there's some animals that have higher percentages than we do of what they can see and what they can hear. So I kind of lead between like I think it could be adapted because I think we adapted to the percentages are right now. I feel like prehistoric man didn't have as much mind diversion as we have of all the noise of everything going on around us, plus multiple senses that are heightened. Several animals only see in black and white. You know what I mean? So I think it's the fact that we've been given all of these senses, and then we have so much chaos in the world around us. I feel like our percentages have lowered since way
Yeah, I
back.
was going to say,
Right.
do you think our senses have been dulled down by all this
Yes.
technology?
Yes.
Not being outside as much, watching TV, getting on our phones, which are kind of an oxymoron because you get knowledge from the phones or the computer screens or like what we're doing, exchanging information. But at the same time, people don't take the time to go outside. And if they do go outside, it's for maybe like an hour.
Right. And if you think about I say prehistoric, I don't even know what time period I'm talking about. So y'all just ignore that. But like the men that lived, like when they lived on the land, they lived in caves.
Even Native Americans,
They lived in
see a lot
caves.
more
They had
stuff.
barely any clothing. They had to have their senses and sight and ears up at night so they weren't attacked. They didn't have homes. You know what I mean? And then
They had to be alert.
right. So I feel like
constantly.
what were those percentages then of what we saw and what we heard?
Mm-hmm.
You had to be able to sense the enemy was coming.
Yes.
Be that a person, like another tribe of Indians, or if it was an animal, you had to be able to sense that thing. So I think it's all plummeted to where we are now.
I like that. If you think about it, what you just said too, I can add to, because they had to hunt to live, to survive. That's not an innate skill that we have anymore. A lot of people still hunt, yes. They still go out there, but that's not a 24/7 thing that's needed. Agreed. Technology, I think, does play a part into us being dumbed down a little bit. I would agree with you guys on that one too. I also think that a lot of people will talk about dimensional situations now. And this person said I just defined dimensional when I was speaking about the colors and the sight and all that. But really, is it? Because we're still on our own plane of existence. We can't even see 100% of our own plane existence at this time. Could they back then? Maybe. Maybe they didn't. Don't know. But at this time, because the other question is, what makes a good paranormal investigator? And, what was it like to investigate back then for those people who were into the spiritual, wanting to know comparatively to now?
Like the Hans Holzers, he had really was a recorder and a medium with him.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly right. So they had the witch doctors, the shamans, and people they could go to ask these questions. Where now it's just like their teams are embracing mediums and psychics on and the whole nine, and people are no longer feeling. Well, there still are pockets of places that it's not really talked about and not really looked on to, but so much better than it has been in 100, 200 years. Be honest about that. So are we embracing that? It could be. I made a comment that people should be embracing their paranormal friends right now. And the reason I say that is because we're actually the ones that are out there using these senses now comparatively to the general public. And embrace your friends that are into the paranormal and supernatural, because they're the ones that actually are going to have a better idea of what might be taking place at a situation than maybe you are. It depends on our knowledge too. I will say that. Mike said you get more knowledge from experience of doing things. Absolutely. And sometimes not doing things.
True.
So, I found that interesting. So, another question that was asked that I was like, oh, that's a good one. That is a very valid question. What is being an investigator mean to you? Rhonda, I don't know if you remember that, but that was with Andy and them. So what's an investigator? What's being an investigator mean to you guys? And you guys out there too, we would love to hear, what does it mean to you to be an investigator? What's your thoughts on that?
Brian, you
mean-
go first.
We weren't expecting this, were you?
I think being an investigator, as far as what it means to me, it's enjoyment. I enjoy learning things. I enjoy being with friends. I enjoy getting evidence. You know, I think it's great to be able to speak to someone or hear someone's voice who may or may not be around anymore.
Right.
I say that because I think we may have caught Randy's voice in the cabin, and just learning the questions and learning about like the different places that we investigate, learning the stories of the people who lived in the houses that we investigate at one point. Still blows my mind, or just the fact that we're sitting here so calmly talking about hearing the voices of the dead, where like it's just like, okay, like it's a normal thing. Back when I was a kid, if someone would have told me I'd be doing this, I probably would have thought they were insane, because I've got a book of ghost stories for my mom for Christmas, and I kept it downstairs in the basement because I'm like, no, those ghosts are going to come with this book and they're going to get me in my bed. So
Don't ask him how many books he's got now of the paranormal.
oh, I know, right? So it's a big leap from where I was to where I am right now.
Right.
So, and then just the friendships and everything that we've made through investigations. And you know, I know we're not going to get the answers that we want. But it's still fun. The chase is still fun.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Good points. Good points, Ryan.
Mm.
What about you, Rhonda? Because you've only been in the paranormal field for a little bit shorter time than Ryan.
Yeah, I think I'm going on. Well, I don't know how many years I'm going on total, but like on a team, 2 years now is coming up. For me, one, like as a general, what is the paranormal to me? It's just being an investigator just means I'm seeking answers to things that we don't understand, knowing that I probably won't get them. But on the flip side of that, being sensitive and being a psychic medium, to me, it's helping to validate those things. I think the one thing I differ a little bit about with some psychics and mediums that are in the field is I do understand or try to understand, and not that they don't, so I'm not, that's no diss, but for me, I do try to understand the science behind things, and I do try to figure things out. I mean, anybody who's investigating with me, Mike can attest to this. Shonda, I'm the one that's always constantly saying, hey, let's try this. I have an idea. Let's see. Let's do dual dowsing rod sessions with noise deprivation headphones and blindfolds on, and let's see what happens.
Right.
Like, that's me, because I want to see the things that I rely on. Are they truly working? Or is there ways we can get more? Or is there a way we can get the multiple evidence to prove that something happened? So that's what it really is to me, is finding new ways to try to get to those answers.
Valid points. I really like them. Ashley pops in and says, for me, it's about helping someone who is experiencing something no longer be scared. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll go with that. I can
Helping
see her
people.
points too. Yeah, helping people and things. The interesting part, while y'all two were talking, I thought about this. So back in the day, we're talking back in the 17th and 1600s, maybe even the early 20th century, the people used to go out and hunt in packs. You know, it was a hunting party. Isn't it interesting now if you think about it, how we've all becoming a part of our own pack. These,
Mhm.
these societies and these groups, they're their own hunting pack. They're going out, finding their research, gathering their knowledge, doing the history on the area so they can better work the area on which they are in, yet it be grazing or hunting. It's the same thing. I think it's very interesting when you take a look at that, at connecting then to now. Technology to having to survive, using these skills to survive.
Yeah, I was
Um,
wondering, but that kind of came to my mind when we were talking about like how the senses were and the percentages. I was like, well, I guess it has a lot to do how much you're truly, and I mean truly, in survival mode.
mhm.
Not survival mode. It's some of the way we talk about it today, but survival. Like if I don't pay attention, if I don't listen out, and I don't look, I'm going to die. Something out here could unalive me.
No, you're right, because
You
that's
know what
what
I
they
mean?
teach you. That's the skill that they encourage you in wilderness survival and desert training and stuff like that. That's the skill. Is, you know, you're calm and cool because, oh, you're thinking in your head, what can hurt me in this house, in this structure? It's not physical, so you're kind of not as stressed as you would if you had a black panther or a mountain lion stalking you. That adrenaline is different. But is it? And that's what I'm saying. If we pull into that part of our primal brain, it would be very interesting on how we react to it. And that's a valid point.
You know what would
Go
be
into
really cool? Here I go. You know what would be really cool if there was a way, and I'm sure there is, somebody's got it, but a way to measure someone's like what senses people are using and what percentages of those for somebody who's doing a paranormal investigation, like ghost investigation, and someone doing a Bigfoot expedition. Like what it would be like, are they the same? Are they different? Do they switch up? Like what would that be like?
Good point.
probably be more aware of stuff in the woods, looking for Bigfoot
Yeah.
and all the other things that you have.
Did you just flush the toilet on me,
I,
Odell?
Oh my
I just
god!
I just flushed somebody down the toilet. Yes, ma'am. I did.
Okay. I was gonna say.
I thought it was what we were saying. I was like, what?
No,
Yeah.
you would never. I would never do that to you guys. That toilet is all about.
I
Bye
talk
bye,
about
birdie.
doing a thought.
Yeah, but I think you'd be more aware. You'd be more try to be more aware of what's going on all around you as far as the woods. But even to earlier, we're talking about. I think when you go on investigations, you do have that kind of primal, like awareness, because when you go to a dark place, you don't know, let's say St. Albans or I don't know, the cabin, someplace dark like that. You are aware because you're more aware of of just the feelings that you have compared to when you go out into the woods, because it's more of a internal thing, and the woods that we're looking for Bigfoot would be more of an external thing. You're here more about animals. As far as the paranormal, you'd be worried about stuff messing with your head.
Valid point.
There's a different type of awareness.
Yeah. Rhonda, you want to read Ronnie?
Yeah, Ronnie said to me, learning the history from the past, spending time with friends who shared the same interests, spreading the word about different locations to new people. I spent a lot of time talking with 3 big names in the field, telling them about the cabin. Since it was only 20 minutes away from the tavern, they were open to it, and those people could get the word out. Exactly. Exactly. That's what's one other thing that's really cool about these events is, you guys, I mean, we're the ones doing the talking and stuff, but you all join our podcast and stuff, and we have people on there, and you get to actually see some of them in person, and it's really cool to actually, with this, we've got a face with a name, right? But it's really cool to actually sit down and chat with them, just one on one. So I mean, it's really cool to do that.
Okay, that's a good point. That is one of the things I look forward to, is meeting the people that have been on our show.
Yeah.
So I agree with you there. I had such a great time with Jen.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like, Ryan and I had Paranormal Theory on Gosh, almost a year ago now, right? We were trying to figure out yesterday, Ryan, when we had them on.
I think it
They
was
said we were-
springtime last year. We
yeah,
had
I
them
told
on.
them I thought about 6 months, and they said that we were literally their second podcast they had ever been on.
Wow.
And so, we were talking about different things and whatnot. And
Yeah,
so
because
it
they
was
were
really
here
cool.
yesterday, right?
Yeah, so to really
Yeah.
sit down and talk with them. And then today I had the thought, I was like, daggone, I know we've got Cabin Con coming up. I should probably mention to them, hey, reach out to Dennis if y'all want to come out to that and be speakers, because they were speakers at this event. They might be busy, they might not, but just spread the word even about some of these other groups that are just getting started.
Yeah, I mean, there's the power is in word. In all these locations around Virginia that's legally you can go to, they should be spoken about.
Yep.
They really should. It's not, and now on the upside, hey, what's up, buddy? On the reverse end, we have to remember we should speak up if somebody is speaking about going to a location or an area that's not legally
Oh, yeah.
accessible or dangerous. Don't be scared to speak up and say, hey, you don't want to do that. And let me tell you what, now, if they want to take offense to it, that's on them. But we're looking out for each other. We're not being turds or assholes about it when we do it.
Yeah.
We're just expressing that. What are you doing, man?
I'm going to go get him some milk. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Gotcha. So in that, we're being responsible to everybody in the field. And, every location deserves to have their say, by all means. I mean, I've worked a lot of locations in Virginia, a lot of good places. And I don't think I would even attempt to deny any one location of accessibility. Because
Well, you're kind of speaking of when people were talking. You hear people, especially people new in the field, talk about going somewhere that they're going to get arrested if they go there.
Yeah, I want to make sure people understand that there are places that you can't go to. I mean, honestly. So why do I like investigating? Why did I come back into the field? Because I'm addicted to it. Okay. I know what I can do. I know I can help people. I've been helping people. And I know I have the ability to help and to learn history. I will totally agree with that. If it wasn't for the drive that I have, I would have never made it to Selma Mansion in Norristown, Pennsylvania. I would have never gone to the Exchange Hotel in Orange, Virginia. I would have never even gone to Gettysburg, Virginia. And what I learned about Gettysburg, it doesn't even have to do with the Civil War. So I agree. It is the locations, the drive to want to learn history, the real history, not what's taught in books.
That's true.
See, and compare those notes, helping people, because not only have I helped people in the home or at a business, but I've also helped possibly those spirits in that locations to work with said proprietor or help them in some way. When I do an investigation, I don't always think about the client. I'm not going to lie. A lot of times I'm thinking about the spirit. Why is the spirit affected, interacting, or whatever? Find the source. So I'm driven by the science side and the spiritual side. So, I tend to agree with that. There's a lot of locations, and I've been to 2 or 3 locations, one specific that I got to learn something fresh and clean with Ryan, where nobody else had investigated, but a shitload of stuff has taken place there. I would love to go back and sit back with the owners of that location now to see if they've experienced anything since 2013.
That would be interesting to be able to go back, 10 years later or so when you do one and see what's happening.
The return. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I would. So I'm with you guys on this. There's a lot of interesting questions to ask. And this is one of the questions Ryan and I ask anybody that comes or is interested in interviewing with ASPS. Why do you want to investigate? Why do you want to be an investigator? Why do you want to do the paranormal? I need to know if you have the passion.
Mm-hmm.
we don't always investigate. We're not that big money group that goes out there every weekend and goes somewhere new and blah, blah, blah. We're just not. But we love the scientific side. We love being able to investigate and help people and talk to people. And meanwhile, we're learning something new. How are we affected by every location? Are we affected differently in some location? I mean, that's a thought right there.
Yeah.
You know, why are we doing that? You know, that should be the big question of the day. Why are we doing this? So with that, you know, there's a whole lot of things go down with this. And we're right here at the top of the hour. You know, I love what I do. I love the people that I am with. I love my circle now. And even those who are connected to me outside of our circle, but they are still family. You know, the team membership, I don't know if that's the word I'm going to use. Camaraderie, I will go with that, of a like-minded individuals working together and finding the right group, because not everybody's going to get along with the same groups, but you can have shared interest and communication to better the field in general.
Mm-hmm.
Right on. I mean, I swear it was like a big family reunion yesterday. Like every time I turned around, I was hugging somebody and seeing somebody I hadn't seen. I even met somebody, like I met her through something she was posting on Facebook. I think she's been out to the cabin a lot. And we, you know, she just added me, hey, do you care if I put any FPRI events out there? And I was like, I already talked to John. Are you good? I was like, yeah. As John said, yeah, we're good to go. But like, so then she and I just kind of found out we live probably 15 minutes from each other, and I actually got to meet her in person yesterday. Not just somebody, a fan of the paranormal, you know what I mean? So it's just cool to go meet people you haven't seen in a while, you know, reconnect, meet people that you've talked to on these kind of, or that you guys have seen on these kind of, you know, platforms. And then, you know, seeing people like Sam Beltrusis that when, you know, I really got to know back at Mass Paracon and things like that. It's fun. It's just fun.
It is.
And but you found a lot of people, they were wandering around, but a lot of people were sitting in the courtyard at tables just chatting.
No offense to nobody, but it'd been a long time since me and Andy had talked, and 4 hours, man. Did it bother me? Not at all. I really enjoyed sitting down with him, with Robert, with FPRI, across all of us, just interchanging and communicating. It was nothing against the vendors, nothing. It just, sometimes it happens that way.
It happens like it's supposed to.
It happens the way it's supposed to. Touche. Before we end this, got any final words that we want to put out there? I mean, to people who may be wanting to get into the paranormal, to people that are out there that we could just give some simple advice to?
I say if you're interested, go on some public investigations and see if you really got the itch for it.
Yeah,
see what it's about.
Always good to try it, see if you like it. Because it's like once you get that first EVP, and you know you get that itch, you try to keep scratching it, but it never really goes away.
Sounds like a glam rock song right there.
It becomes a lifestyle almost.
Yeah,
because you know.
I can still remember the first EVP Ryan got and the look on his face. I think those are moments. Those are moments.
Well, it's
that eyebrow right there, what he just did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's those things that happen. Like last night, all of a sudden, Shonda, she says, your flashlight's on in your pocket.
Again?
This one was actually a twist flashlight that's sitting straight up. So now you tell me how that twisted on.
Now that during that conversation when we were in there and they were all on the board, I looked right at you because they were talking about like manipulating your cell phones, and I had to look at you because I'm like, you're the only person I've ever seen them do it to.
Had a phone totally locked in it. The flashlight came on. Yeah.
Yeah, that was intriguing. Those are the little moments right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So travelers and those like, we want to thank you so much for hanging out with us this last hour on LiveWire. This is that open conversation. We just chit chat, kind of free talk and look at things. And We just give you our opinions and we listen to what you have to say. That's what it's about. We can't thank you enough for that. Let's try to have a good week. I know a lot's going on. We could go down rabbit holes and we could talk conspiracy, but why? You already
Right.
know what's going on. You know, be kind to each other. Stick to your boundaries. You don't have to react against the things that you don't need to react to, if that makes sense. Stay focused. Encourage yourself. You can be better every day. Just do that. Just try to be better every day. That's the way I feel about it. What Kev said, great show, insights. There you go. Love that. I love that. And just let's just try to make everything better for all of us. Really, seriously. And you never know. Maybe who you thought in your past you didn't get along with, maybe you really do. Give it a shot. Give it a chance.
That's a good advice.
Yep.
Let's continue to help each other. Get yourselves on the beach, on your surfboard. Get them help where they may need it. Be their support because you know there's people out there supporting you. Don't forget your love just as much as you love others. May virtue be yours.
Have a great week, everyone.
See you Tuesday.